Welcome back to the 7th grade mustache. On today's episode, we'll be speaking about the BUBBLEGUT conspiracy, Frankenfoods, and the strange things that big agriculture has been cooking up to feed and poison people. The proof is in the poison, genetically modified, fermented, and bloated. Glyphosate was created as a pesticide for Monsanto. It's Monsanto that started in the early 1900s making chemicals for warfare and then changed to make chemicals for agriculture after World War II. Because after World War II, there was this large summit of all the food manufacturers and big agriculture and chemical companies. And they got together and they said, the war has ended and there's going to be this huge boom of children being born and an explosion of the middle class. And to feed these people, we need to find a way to create these factory farms and mass produce a lot of food in a short amount of time. And so they chose to cut corners and not focus on safety, but instead on profits. And so with Monsanto moving from making chemicals for warfare into chemicals for agriculture and pesticides, they eventually came up with their flagship product, which is called Roundup. Now, growing up in the Midwest, you would see a lot of commercials back in the day for Roundup. And this is before all the lawsuits and all the people getting sick and all these issues. But you see all these commercials. You'd be watching like NBA and a football game or a college football game, cartoons, Roundup, Monsanto commercials all the time in the Midwest. You'd always see this stuff. It's always some type of like farm situation or like some field, and it show, these bugs being killed by this stuff they were spraying, and like you can kill and zero tolerance and completely eliminate all pests, blah, blah, blah. So
hey, there's another thing they used to talk about when we were kids that I asked my mom about. They would talk about volunteer. They would talk about herbicide, they would talk pesticide, and they would talk about, hey, if you use our herbicide, there's no volunteer yield. I'm like, what's a volunteer yield? A volunteer yield is when when you plant a plant so much, it starts growing naturally. So what's wrong with volunteer yields? Like, nah, they made a big deal. What that means is that you plant corn over here, and some of the corn falls off on the side and starts growing over there. That's a volunteer yield. People get pissed. I'm like, that's a bad thing? It completely blows your mind what they were doing, and they were creating seeds back then that wouldn't grow. They would only grow for one season.
That's called a Terminator seed.
Yeah, crazy stuff. They were talking that stuff way back then. We're talking about the same thing. It's just the fact that they were manipulating things way back then, and they were in your face with it. Now they call it different shit, but back then they had whole commercials like, "Hey, no volunteer yield. Hey, no this." Yeah, third nipple, no problem. Just keep eating our food. Shit, fuck it. So, yeah, we grew up being bombarded by that whole media rush.
So the active ingredient in Roundup is glyphosate, and
Glyphosate.
And the glyphosates. Well, hold on. The active ingredient is glyphosate, and it is found everywhere. It is found in so many different places in residual forms. So the residues of glyphosates have been found in food, water, air samples, and rain samples. It has also been found in 70% of all human blood and urine samples. Baby food has been tested and found to contain glyphosate residues.
Look, glyphosate causes cancer. Just put it out.
Hang on. Baby food cereal. Has been found to contain glyphosate. It's an instant formula, and it's an infant formula, and it's even in organic honey created by bees in areas treated with glyphosate. And dude, this is wild stuff, because you're trying to figure out, okay, well, how can I avoid this shit? And then you look at and you see that, okay, it really is no way to avoid this. It's in everything. And whether or not you get it directly doesn't matter because you'll wind up consuming it indirectly. It'll be pretty much in everything that's near these fields or these places that have been treated with this glyphosate.
Look, the bottom line is glyphosates are national carcinogens. So California moved to add glyphosates to the list of carcinogens. So it's like it's a known carcinogen. Now, where it gets complicated is, do GMOs cause cancer? Now, some people say it do, some people say it don't. But the scariest part in this article I looked up, and farm workers aren't the only ones exposed to this herbicide. Researchers have found that glyphosate residue in food as well. The Cancer Research Agency points out that a 2007 study found glyphosate residue on 6 out of 8 tofu samples made from Brazilian soybeans. Soybeans are the largest genetically modified crop produced globally and account for half of the total area dedicated to GMOs. Long story short, that one, soybeans are GMO. Not everywhere, but they are. And so do the GMOs cause cancer, or is it the glyphosate? Either way, if you're consuming this tofu right now, this modern tofu, you are being exposed to a carcinogen.
But but here's the thing. A lot of people that want to live a healthy lifestyle, vegans, vegetarians, and just health-conscious people, they read the labels. They read the labels and they look to see if something is genetically modified. They go shopping at stores where they think they don't carry genetically modified stuff, only to find out that, Whole Foods has shelves full of genetically modified foods. And so it's hard to avoid this stuff. Even if you're living a vegetarian or vegan lifestyle, you're still getting glyphosate residue in your food.
Or GMO. But this goes back to before he died, Big Gregory was saying that one of the largest parts of the population that's getting cancer are these vegans. And it's not because, something they're doing, it's because of this tofu stuff. Or it's because these things made from soybeans. He was like, soybeans weren't meant to be eaten. I disagree with that. People have been eating soybeans or eating tofu over 2,000 years in China. But the point being, this current incarnation of tofu goes back to what my brother was saying with this industrialized farming. They don't care about people. They just care about profit and producing this product on a mass level. To do that, you have to use GMOs because the regular foods ain't going to grow fast enough. Second thing, my brother talked about it on other podcasts, is that foods grow in seasons. So if it ain't soybean season, do you think that this farmer's going to stop making money? No, they're going to find an alternative. Pow! Now you have GMOs, something that they can grow all year long, and that goes against what's natural, what's in nature. Excuse me. And then to do that rush, now you're causing cancer. Now you have a carcinogen, whether it's the herbicide or it's the GMO itself that's causing it. Now, the argument over GMOs, whether they cause cancer, this is what you need to look for. So I was Googling this, like, hey, do GMOs cause cancer? You see all these different articles. They don't cause cancer. But they all say the exact same thing. No substantial research has been found that causes cancer.
Wait a minute. Okay, we need to dig into that right now. So, hold on a second.
You know where I'm going with this.
So, you got to be careful when it comes to this information. You have to understand who provided the funding for that research organization, because some of these groups, these front groups, are AstroTurf, fake grassroots organizations, or fake scientific groups that were funded and created by these large, powerful companies like Dow and Monsanto. So check this out. Okay, Monsanto has a history of not directly addressing the science behind the crop manipulation and the adverse side effects that humans suffer from consuming these products. So like DuPont, Dow, and other powerful chemical companies like Monsanto, they hire front groups that appear independent to attack scientists and journalists that are whistleblowers against big agriculture. So there's one in particular that is very famous, but it's also a fake group that is funded by Monsanto, and that is the American Council on Science and Health. And it sounds like, oh, that's official. That's, that's a respected institution.
Hey, that's like the American Dental Association. Have you ever met any dentists that are part of the American Dental
No,
Association?
no, no. But that
It's just
group,
a seal.
I'm talking about though, the American Council on Science and Health, was created by Monsanto to function independently of the company to handle any interests that are outside of their legal reach. And so basically,
It's to sway public opinion about a product or about
yeah,
something that's out
because
there.
it's against the law for them to buy off politicians or to buy off, newspaper organizations and to basically like lie about their products. So they'll create a fake scientific body with scientists that they keep on a stipend, and they just have them write articles and
to support them.
do research that creates this positive image of these horrible products.
Look, when you Google, do GMOs cause cancer, you get all these things that pop up. Now, anything that I've noticed, anything after 2017 says no. Anything before 2017 says some crazy shit.
Okay. They're altering the timeline. But hold on.
Yeah,
this is what we got to get to. Because in 2018, Bayer, the German chemical company, bought Monsanto. But in doing so, they absorbed $16 billion in settlements that Monsanto had to pay off for these lawsuits that people had from getting sick and dying and getting non-Hodgkin's lymphoma from glyphosates that was treated with these people that were working in these areas that were treated with Roundup. And so $16 billion in lawsuits that Bayer had to basically eat. So, and a lot of these people won these lawsuits. So check this out. So what they've been doing, in the court documents, in the discovery, what was found is that Monsanto was altering Google search engine optimizations. Yeah. So they were basically altering the search engine so that you could not uncover any data that was detrimental about what glyphosates are doing, what Roundup did to people.
Look,
they're cooking the books.
Yeah, 100%. So here's something if you find out when you're looking. It's going to be an old article, but the European Union, 19 other nations in the European Union banned GMOs.
29. It's 29 of them. And they banned, listen, here's the thing. Okay, so they banned genetically modified crops being grown, but some of those same countries allow them to be sold on their shelves. So basically, this GMO shit was imported.
Well, it's complicated. Spain and I think Portugal, they grow certain things. Look, it says 19. This is an old article. I can't find the date on it, but it said 19 of the 27 member states, countries of the European Union have voted either to partially or fully ban genetically modified organisms. Now, when you fast forward through the article, it gives you the countries: France, Germany, Austria, Greece, Hungary, Netherlands, blah, blah, blah. But it gets all the way down, and here's what it says. I can't find it. Long story short, it doesn't cause cancer. It causes precancerous growths. Those growths become cancer. This is how the wordplay, true enough. The European Union feels that these GMOs cause cancer and messes with your endocrine system and your not nervous system, your whatever.
Your DNA.
You know what I'm saying? Your DNA so much that yes, it gives you the precancerous growths that become cancer. So they feel like, yeah, this causes cancer. So they literally banned it. That's why when you see a lot of these naturalistic, holistic people, they say, yeah, I buy my seeds from Europe. I buy my seeds from the Netherlands, because the Netherlands have outlawed Monsanto and these GMOs. So if you want seeds that ain't going to, cause you to get a third titty, you order your seeds from Europe or from the Netherlands. So you'll see that. So the thing is, back then, the EU feels like it's sufficient enough to ban this in many countries or only ban certain ones. Now, Africa had the same thing going in 2013, but those exact same countries that were protesting against Monsanto now have Monsanto. Now, here's how they get you also. They don't just have one crop. They don't just have food crops. Yeah, they got GMO corn and GMO this, but they also got GMO cotton.
Yep.
So
Yep.
so they hit you. So they sound like, oh, yeah, man, we're trying to take care of you, and we're looking out for you. Poverty. Oh, our seeds don't need a lot of water.
Because, listen, they hide behind a green shield.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Hey, if you ain't noticed, it's the same vaccine playbook. You want to get back to normal, don't you? So get the shot. Oh, get another shot. So, you want to feed these poor African people, don't you? Well, why don't you help them with water?
But see, people hear genetically modified food and they just think, oh, well, if it's just soy, I don't have to worry about it. No, because there's genetically modified soybeans, genetically modified corn, genetically modified cotton, genetically modified canola, genetically modified alfalfa. So hold on. Let's break this down for a second. So, okay, cool. You want to stay free? You don't want to be a soy boy? Get it. No problem. We'll stay clear of that. What about corn? Well, there's corn syrup in everything. Dude.
high fructose corn syrup.
Listen.
Everything.
If you want to watch an interesting documentary, watch The King of Corn. Dude, that will trip you out, man. It's pretty much like the Super Size Me of the corn industry. This documentary talks about how there is corn syrup in 90% of the products in the grocery store. Stuff that you wouldn't even think requires corn at all or any type of syrup. So when I go to the grocery store to buy stuff like for lunch or to snack on, I'm always looking to see if it has no corn syrup. It was a real struggle looking for stuff that had no corn syrup. But here's the thing though, and I'm going to repeat this later. You should be shopping from the outside of the grocery store into the grocery store, meaning
we had that talk.
Yep. You should be buying the fresh produce, and maybe you should be buying the if you drink, some type of like almond milk or rice milk, all that's around the perimeter of the grocery store.
The fringe of the store.
All the shit on the inside, all the cereal, all the candy, all the chips, dude. Even if you want to get the fancy pants, healthy stuff, you still got to read those labels carefully, because even the fancy pants healthy stuff has traces of glyphosate in them. But hang on, I'm not done, because all right, this cotton that you may not know about is genetically modified, may have some type of adverse reaction to you. You don't know, because you don't know what they cross and splice those genes of that cotton with. And then there's canola. That oil is in all types of stuff. You go out and eat all the time. And listen, I have worked in a bunch of restaurants, and I'm going to tell you, they don't give a shit about glyphosates. Go to a Japanese restaurant. Go to a Chinese restaurant. Go to an Italian restaurant. Mexican restaurant. You think they give a fuck about glyphosates? Fuck no. That corn oil, that canola oil, soybean oil, dude, it's in all types of the food you eat when you go out. So you think you're being cute. I'm living a vegan lifestyle, and the cocaine that I buy is conflict free, and it doesn't have fentanyl, and it's the good kind of cocaine. Bitch, you do cocaine, so your drawers are dirty regardless. But the thing is that no matter what you do, you have to struggle really hard to stay clear of this long reach of these organizations that have a tremendous amounts of power and control over a lot of things in your life. The crazy part is before Monsanto was bought by Bayer, in their corporate retreats and in their cafeterias, they did not have any GMO food at all. And this is the company that makes products.
They don't serve their own food at their organization.
Dude.
Now, hold up. Don't leave out the hardest part. You can wash your fruit and still have 98% of that shit, of that glyphosate still on there. The Roundup still on there. That's what makes it difficult. They actually make products now to help you wash that crap off. It's crazy that you have to wash your fruit so thoroughly, that because you can't get the pesticide off. the herbicide off. You can't get the. That's craziness. And so you can wash it. I think they said you got to let it sit so many hours just in water. Like, who does that?
Nobody.
But look it up. It's necessary to, if you're trying to get that Roundup off, it's necessary.
So this is what I'm saying, is that you really have to sit and think. Okay, so if I'm avoiding all these things at the grocery store, and somebody goes to make food for me, if I'm at a restaurant, am I going to sit there and ask them if they, am I going to go into their kitchen and see if they're using canola oil? Am I going to go into their kitchen and see if they're using all these, dude, all these different things that they're using to prepare your food have glyphosate in it, have genetically modified food in it. Excuse me. And then you have your friends. Then you go and eat dinner with your friends, or you go to a cookout, and they're using all types of canola oil on shit. You go to Thanksgiving, and you eating at somebody's house Thanksgiving. You eating all. Listen, you have glyphosates in your gut, in
Already.
your balls, in your blood. It's all through you.
Look, if you don't, the only time people notice this shit is if it affects them. I get migraines, so I like Chinese food. I used to, and they have MSG, so I literally have to tell them, don't put MSG on there. Monosodium glutamate. It's a flavor enhancer. You have to tell them, don't put MSG on there. If you ever watch them prepare the food, they put all this stuff together. It looks beautiful. All of a sudden, they grab this white powder and toss it on there like, oh, shit, what is that? That's the baby killer. That's the shit that causes me migraine. This shit causes all kinds of other stuff. But it's a flavor enhancer that's not even necessary. So that's the kind of crap we're talking about. What do you do when the restaurant don't give a fuck? Or if they give a fuck, about the flavor of the month. They give, we don't have GMOs in we don't use GMO corn. Yeah, but 19 of the products you do use have GMO in it. We're more about labeling than about reality, and that's what's messing with us. And this company has so permeated our lifestyle, our lives, that it's hard to avoid the shit. Look, you go from, you don't want to eat meat no more, so you become a vegan. Now you're a vegetarian, but the vegan is supposed to be all on the acidic shit. Like, I'm eating alkaline foods, and I'm not eating hybrids and shit like that. So right there, so you go that route, but you don't even know if you're buying shit that says vegan on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, there's no glucose, there's no whatever this is. So you
listen, when you travel outside the U.S. and you go to foreign countries and you eat the food and you're like, man, this food tastes so different. Guess why? Because it's not made with all the canola oil and the soybean oil, and it's not genetically modified. It doesn't have all this crap in it that you're used to eating. That's why food in foreign countries tastes real, like it tastes like it's supposed to.
What pisses you off when you go to Mexico? I get it. They might not be as clean as you want, but that hog was butchered. That cow was butchered that day. You know what I'm saying? That corn was grown. So it's what they call it, renewable.
But see, this is the crazy part. It's some bullshit when Mexico is refusing to take GMO products. When Mexico is refusing GMO crops from America, they're like, no, we're good. We're good. It's crazy. It's like you can get, they call Mexican Coke, and I'm not talking about the stuff that's killing people with the fentanyl. I'm talking about Mexican Coca-Cola, and it's not made with corn syrup. It's made with cane syrup.
Cane sugar, yep.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it was. Now, they even admitted that Coke has fucked that up. But yes, when you got that Coke, it was sweet. It was a treat. You know what I'm saying? Like, but here's my point. When you sit there, and I get it, we make fun of Mexico. This country's different. Like, okay, yeah, we don't mind if you get Montezuma's revenge. You just won't get cancer eating our food. You know what I'm saying? We don't mind if you shit yourself, but you won't get cancer in Mexico. What does this governments know stuff we don't know? So when you have the European Union, when you have whole countries like, hey, we're opposed to it. You had I think you have 2 African nations left that don't fuck with Monsanto. It's because Monsanto takes advantage of you being poor just to infiltrate your society / ecosystem and become part of that. and then you become hooked on it.
But if you are an African president that is opposed to large corporations, multinational corporations coming to your country to basically take over, then first what they do before they kill you is they bribe you. And if you won't take a bribe, then they blacklist you. And then
they discredit.
And through the blacklisting, they discredit you, and they then smear your name. And before everything is finished, this person has been assassinated for political reasons that are considered maligned or corruption. And so they smear your name, and then they have assassins that are on the CIA or the MI6 payroll, and they come in there, or Mossad payroll, and they kill you. That's how it works.
They go through that shit right now in Haiti. The new president is like kicking ass, and they're trying to discredit his wife already. It's because, okay, like, we don't need help from these Western powers. Hey, we done paid France off. We done paid everybody off. Get the fuck out of my nation. We had gold. Hillary Clinton took that. Get the hell out of our nation. So the point being is that these companies are so powerful that they can control whole countries, and you being healthy doesn't matter. It's self-fulfilling, because why we talked about it. Why would a health company buy Monsanto? Why would Bayer, who makes medicine, a pharmaceutical company, buy this? Because they know, okay, we're making customers. If one product gives you cancer, and then we have the patent for the solution, we're just going full circle. We're creating customers.
So
we are doing.
The problem with this is 40% of all men and women are expected to get cancer in their lifetime. This alarming fact is programmed into the public consciousness as an acceptable casualty of agricultural and scientific standards of life and medical care. This statistic was discovered by the Cancer Institute, a bunch of scientists that study cancer and the rate that Americans are getting cancer. But it tells you that people have been programmed to think that this standard of living is okay, that it's sustainable and acceptable, and go along with the ride is fine. Most of your friends and family are going to die from cancer anyway. So, but the crazy part about it is these people are dying from things that they eat. So you then realize that the cost of these foods is way higher than you can actually afford, because this type of living, these dietary choices, are way more expensive on the back end. Yeah, I mean, look, it's like Goody Mob said. It said they make this bullshit food affordable. I thank God that my voice was recordable. Because you're going to eat yourself into a grave from the foods that have all these additives and all these genetic modifications in them. And so because of this, people just accept the fact that a shitty life toward the end is what's expected. No, you don't have to go quietly plugged into the wall at the end of your life. You don't have to go like that because you've eaten a shitty diet. Man, I cannot tell you how many people I work around, people that I know, just they accept a shitty way of life as status quo. That's the way it is. And this ease that becomes dis-ease, and you're easing yourself into a grave. Just you have to review your thinking. You have to review your thinking. You have to remix your view on what you eat and how you want to die.
Look, we've been brainwashed to believe that you got to go this way, that death is because of disease. People, remember back in the day, natural causes? Who the hell dies of natural causes anymore? They just, went to sleep. It never happens. There's always a disease. There's always cancer. There's always heart condition. There's all these things that were based on our lifestyle. And we don't want to change our lifestyle? That's pretty arrogant, don't you think?
I don't know. You breathe real hard for a motherfucker just sitting there. So
I'm doing 2 or 3 things at once. You know
Hey,
my life. It's
but
complicated.
but look, let's get to the bubble gut. So IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. Just because you don't have constipation or diarrhea doesn't mean you don't have IBS. Because there are many symptoms that include bloating, gas, uncomfortable digestive systems, and so forth. But you can feel the pain afterward due to inflammation of your bowels.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not about the foods that you're eating. There are times that temperatures within the same meal can cause a problem. While you likely wouldn't eat hot soup and ice cream within the same meal, you want to make a conscious effort that you don't do something similar. You don't want extreme cold or extreme hot at the same time, as they cause your digestive system to become confused. But fatty foods or fried foods tend to be the problem. The oils will go right through you and can't be digested properly. There was this additive that was in potato chips about 15 years ago called Olestra. And Olestra was in all these Frito-Lay chips. And it was a new type of oil that they were using, and it was undigestible, and people were just shitting their brains out. And there was a bunch of lawsuit about Olestra and all these
But
different potato
the whole
chips.
idea was that it's supposed to not have all the same cholesterol and doesn't hurt you. What it was doing is passing right through you. Basically, it gave you the same flavor, so the chips would behave the same way, but then they would just pass right through you. And so, but it was causing problems with your digestive system. So yeah, you didn't get the high cholesterol, you didn't get the heart problems, but you were fucking up your gut. You're trading one for the other.
So constipation can contribute to abdominal pain and bloating. The longer your stool stays in your colon, the more time bacteria has to ferment what's there, resulting in more gas and more bloating. But in the long run, the key to preventing bloating is understanding its cause. If mild constipation is the problem, a fiber-rich diet, water, and exercise may help. But these steps won't always work for chronic constipation. See, chronic constipation can really only be cured with fasting and cleansing. It'll help get rid of the IBS and the gastroparesis. But people suffering from with bowel disease, including ulcerative colitis, IBS, Crohn's, and celiac, all have two things in common: pain and diarrhea. In many cases, these individuals find that using activated charcoal capsules internally and applied externally as a poultice helps produce relief. So, a lot of the stuff that sits in your gut for a long time is actually what's contributing to these issues. And so, there's this old saying that your bowels feed your blood. And so, if you start having these breakouts on your skin, if you start having these scales on the sides of your feet near your ankles, that is from your intestines attempting to cleanse themselves.
Digestion, yep.
Yeah,
It's getting the stuff out your system.
right. And if your feet start getting like real hot and like hotter than normal, that it is an attempt at your body to push toxins out. So that's why it's so important to cleanse yourself at least twice a year for 3 days each time. In the springtime and then in the autumn. So now we're going into the autumn now, and now as it's like just starting to cool down and starting to get cold, this is the perfect time to do a cleanse. There's different ways. I mean, I'm going to leave it up to you and anybody else that wants to do
It's
it.
a factory reset.
Yes.
You're sending your body back to its natural state.
But
So much.
but here's the deal. I got to interrupt this because your liver and your kidneys are what you need to clean out twice a year. They're like the fuel filter and the oil filter on your car. And if you don't ever change your fuel filter, and if you don't ever change your oil filter, you will have component breakdown eventually.
Breakdown, yes, eventually. Look, the bottom line is that we have been brainwashed by the food industry that milk is good for you. You need vitamin D. Yeah, vitamin D comes from the sun, not from milk.
But you get more vitamin D from a bowl of greens than you do from a glass of milk.
Well, also, okay, here's another thing. When you start reading these articles, I started seeing a lot of stuff about fermented food. Oh, relish and that's not good for you. The sodium in there. Look it up. You have two types of vitamin D: vitamin D2 and vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 comes from fat from animals, and then the sun changes it into usable stuff. Well, vitamin D2 is a more important one, but guess what? That comes from plants. So you consume like mushrooms or sauerkraut or something like that, a little bit of rubbish or whatever, and then when the sun hits you, it makes the vitamin D2 grow, and that's the one that really stops viruses from growing in you and all that kind of shit. But the bottom line is this: we thought that we got vitamin D from drinking milk, and that's when they irradiate the milk. What they were trying to do was make the milk. They were trying to sell the milk to you. Milk doesn't have vitamin D in it naturally, so they're altering it. So like, hey, if you drink milk, you get strong bones. It's a hustle. We've been told that we have to eat every single day. In fact, if you don't eat, you some kind of way think that, okay, hey man, I'm a failure. I don't have enough money to do this. I'm broke. Oh my God, and you'll have a panic attack if you don't eat every day, knowing that you don't need to eat every day. You should be eating maybe 3 days a week, 4 days a week, and 2 fast days. 5 days a week and just fast 2 days. Or before the change in the atmosphere, my brother's telling you, hey, you're supposed to fast 2 times a year. He said 3 days. I'm saying 5. Force yourself to get 5 because you're going to get all this crap out your system. Here's the thing: when I fast, I'm still shitting every damn day. How the hell am I shitting 3 days later after I've been fast? It's because you still have that much stuff in your bowel, and so much that's where these chemicals are stored in your bowel. Your body stores this stuff. When you get it all the way out of you, then all of a sudden your hair grows, your skin has a different glow to it because those chemicals were in you. All of a sudden your blood pressure goes down. I got diabetes, but all of a sudden I ain't gonna take nothing for weeks because I'm telling you that food, that excess food that stayed in your system and it's still affecting you. And if that food is full of glyphosate, if that food is full of pesticides and stuff, your body's holding it. It doesn't know. It doesn't recognize it. Same thing when it talks about the high fructose corn syrup. The reason people are fat is because of high fructose corn syrup. Your body gets it, can't identify what it is, and so it stores it.
And it makes it harder for you to get full on foods like that, which is why you consume so much junk, and it has very little fiber. Now, see, the fiber part of this conversation is important because the fiber helps to fill up your intestines and your stomach, and it prevents you from eating so much food. But it also works at pushing out all the roughage out of your gut. And so when you don't have enough fiber and you're just eating all this thin food, it just piles up, and like what starts to happen is the inside of your colon starts to get caked up with all this old food. And so that means that the size, the diameter of your feces gets thinner. Listen, it's okay if you look at your turds, okay? The reason is because looking at your turds will tell you the quality of your gut health. It will tell you, as you know, the old folks say, are you taking solid shits? You want to take solid shits. You want to take solid shits, but they shouldn't be incredibly dark. And they shouldn't be incredibly foul. Because if they're dark and they're foul, then you don't have enough healthy bacteria in your colon. And so, see, here's the thing. There's foods you can eat to course correct. Just because you start having this dis-ease or this malaise, you can repair it. The human body is resilient. It can take a lot of punishment and come back from the brink of death. So
but the issue is, if you've never been healthy, okay, if you haven't been healthy in your adult life, say you haven't been healthy as a kid, whatever, and then you become an adult and you think this is normal. You've convinced yourself.
Okay,
that
but it started young though, because that kid's like, I don't like vegetables. You know what that is? See, okay, there's a brain in your gut, and this brain will only operate based off of what it has. So if a child doesn't like vegetables, that child probably doesn't have enough natural bacteria in its stomach that likes to break down vegetables. So that informs the brain of this child that I don't like vegetables. What that is really saying is that this kid does not have a healthy gut biome to start with, because his parents have enabled this child and fed it a bunch of junk. So
what about making kids drink water? Like, okay, I'm making my grandkids drink water, and people are like, she asked for water. My granddaughter asked for water first. And said, hey, before you get your soda, you got to drink water. And they're amazed. I'm like, that's because we're made of water. We're not made of soda, you retard. We're not made of this other stuff. You're made of water. So you got to make sure you have a healthy amount of water in you. It's you've talked about it 1,000 times on these podcasts that, hey, water this, water that. You know, when you don't have enough water, all kinds of profound things happen. Like you might be able to function, but you got memory loss. You're in a funk. You're not resting properly. That's all because of lack of water. So if you don't understand what your body is saying, you won't know how to repair it. You won't know how to give it what it needs. I talk about it on another podcast. Sometimes when it comes to that whole sugar problem, so you're addicted to sugar, but you don't. How do you stop it? Well, your body's craving sugar because your stomach had created the enzymes to break down that sugar. Well, now that you stop consuming sugar, because you know, like, okay, it's bad for me, but you still have a craving for it because your stomach is still producing those enzymes. It's going to take a few days for your stomach to stop producing those enzymes. When it stops producing those enzymes, you'll stop having those cravings. That's how it works. You have to have discipline to make this shit work. That's what this whole evil industry is based on, whether it's healthcare, whether it's food or whatever. It's based on the fact that you are arrogant and will not change your lifestyle to be healthy. So we got to create medicine to correct your inability to have discipline. Like, well, you know, back in the day, they would tell you. I remember when I was a kid, we had talked about before, like somebody said, hey, your kid has asthma, move to a dry area, move to Arizona. They moved to Arizona, that kid don't have asthma no more. You know, it's because we're not willing to do that shit anymore. We're more worried about convenience in our careers or whatever the fuck, you know, you're concerned with. I'm not everybody. But when it comes to food and purchasing food, so much of that is based on your wealth level. Like, look, you know this, I didn't get fat until I had a good job. Then I get a good job, and I don't tell myself no. I'm eating cheesecake 3 days a week. When back in the day, you eat cheesecake twice a year. I know it sounds stupid, but I'm just saying that's what it is. We become addicted to excess.
Mouth pleasure.
Yes.
Mouth pleasure is necessary for so much grief that people suffer from now.
They don't acknowledge it. Yeah. But your arrogance also, like, I think World War II was a big part of that. When you realize, okay, Meatless Tuesdays, you would go. It sounds crazy, but we were healthier back then. You had less meat. You had more organic grown foods. You had a few potatoes, a little bit of starch, but mostly greens, and then a little bit of corn here and there. So, but you only had meat so many days a week. That made us stronger. As that middle class makes more money, their diet actually gets worse because they start buying fattier stuff, more excessive stuff. And true enough, when it comes to if you're in an area where they have climate, like actual. Like, okay, so in the wintertime, we can't get this, so we got to consume a little bit more meat and bread because you don't have the vegetables, blah, blah, blah. That's cool. But that's natural. You know, food storage is a big part of what our diets were based on because you had the inability to get food. You weren't close to water, blah, 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 all that shit. You get it. You're smart.
But check this out. They did a study of tribal bush people that moved from the wilderness, the countryside of South Africa, into these larger cities in South Africa. And they said within the first couple of years, these people that were healthy and had vibrant appearances, and they began to get diseases, and they became sick, and they gained a bunch of weight, like unhealthy weight.
Look, here's another study they did. It's like a 90-year study, and it was on the people in the Congo, and it was based on when you were born. People born in the rainy season had more vegetables in their diet. And so these kids would develop faster and differently. The kids who were born in the dry season had to consume more meat and other things. And so this goes on for years, all the way up to they're like 80 years old. They're like, okay, these people right here born in the rainy season were healthier, smarter, had higher IQs, all kinds of crazy shit, all based because they were consuming more vegetables, more natural vegetables as a child all the way up to adult, you know, as a child. And just that little 6-month period of what they consume made a difference. So the bottom line, we're saying what you eat is super important. But what accompanies it is also important, whether it's glyphosate, whether it's genetically modified, whether it's processed food. You know, processed meats are a big problem because you can be on a keto diet, but sausage, hamburger, they got just as much fillers. And that's
and a ton of sodium.
shitload of sodium. And one of the things that messed me up was I didn't understand this when I got high blood pressure. I was drinking Gatorade every day because I thought Gatorade was good for you. Gatorade is mostly potassium and sodium, so it will raise your blood pressure. Now, now if you're working out and your body's losing salt because of sweat and stuff.
Stop. Why were you drinking Gatorade so much? Because your fat ass wasn't working out.
Yes, I wasn't a fat ass at the time. Fuck you, but that's what I was doing because I didn't want to drink soda. Soda's bad for you. So instead of just drinking water, I was grabbing Gatorades 2 and 3 at a time. So I caused myself to have high blood pressure by consuming Gatorade. Yes. No, people think yes, I'm an idiot. But because I thought that, soda's bad for you. Soda's bad for you. Soda's bad for you. Well, look, I basically sabotaged myself because I didn't know what I was doing. I grabbed whatever. I'm believing in commercials. I'm seeing Jordan drink Gatorade. Hell, these commercials, this marketing thing is Malcolm X told you the media is the most powerful thing on earth. It'll have you rooting for the bad guy and condemning the good guy. That's what it is. So because it has a commercial, it must be good for me. That's not true. That's some shit.
No, that means that's a machine. They have a ton of money to push their message, to push the drugs that they're selling.
Hey, they're drug dealers, and so
100%.
What we're trying to tell you is that this GMO thing. When you do the research, why are these other countries banning it? Of course, they say this. When you read all these articles, they all start off the same. There's no sufficient information. That tells you it's coming from a common source. Number one. Number two, the other thing that's crazy, when I'm Googling this and seeing GMOs I'm seeing all these articles from Forbes magazine. Forbes magazine is a money magazine. Why the hell is Forbes magazine giving me information on my health care or what I should be consuming? That's because this is about money. It's not about what's good for you. And when you understand that, certain sources are for certain things, but I know this. When I'm reading Forbes magazine, I'm reading it so I know what to invest in. If they're not telling you about your health, they're telling you what to invest in. That's what they're telling you. Read between the lines, people. When you recognize that this shit is not healthy, it's just what we consider food, and there's food-like stuff and food objects, but that's not always food. Here's the crazy part. I've had 3 dogs die of cancer. My last dog I put down Wednesday. Usually, we know it's something they're eating. So this dog food, I got to figure out what to remove. It's causing cancer. I've dealt with this. If you see it in your dog that their diet is causing cancer, what do you think is causing cancer in us? Back in the day when we were kids, people who got cancer always worked in some kind of nuclear plant, or they were around radioactivity. But when you got somebody in the middle of America that ain't near nothing getting cancer, it's their diet. We got to break that shit down. We got to figure that out because that's what's causing it. But the reason they don't want to fix it is because Bayer's making money off it. They don't give a damn. Somebody's making money off it. They're not going to try to fix the situation. They're just going to try to exacerbate it. That's all.
So there's certain foods you can eat to help repair. Excuse me. I choked on something. There's a couple of foods you can eat that can help to repair your health, your gut health, and one of those is papaya. Go to the grocery store, slice open that green papaya, and take some of those black seeds and chew on them. What that's going to do is jumpstart the healthy populations of bacteria in your gut. And then you can proceed to eat the orange flesh on the inside. All that stuff is really good for helping to get your gut healthy. I'm going to give you some signs. If you're sitting around reading a book or you're on your phone in a quiet room and you hear all that's coming from your gut, or you getting like you farting a lot and you got a lot of gas, or you burping a lot, you need to go ahead and clean the house. And I'm not talking about the one you're sitting in. I'm talking about the one that you're living in. So you need to eat things that are going to bring about a healthy balance. So if you can eat dairy, then you should have some yogurt every once in a while because that helps. Or you need to eat some ginger. Have ginger with your lunch on, as a flavoring on your lunch or on your dinner. You can also slice ginger and chew on that. And that's going to be very hot and spicy. So you're going to chase that with some water. And the reason why I'm telling you to go do this is to go and get the actual root, the ginger root, and slice it up as opposed to taking capsules and not the powder.
Mm-hmm.
You need something as close to the source as possible. So that's why you need to eat papaya fruit. Right. Like drinking a papaya smoothie ain't going to do it. You got to eat the fruit. And the fruit has the digestive enzymes that help restart and rebalance your gut biome. All right? And there's other things you can eat as well. I mean, you can drink kombucha or make your own kombucha. That stuff is really good. It has a little alcohol content to it, so just be warned. But for those drinking it for the first time, it might give you explosive diarrhea. That's because it's cleaning out all the junk that's in there. But again, these are simple things you can go and pick up from the grocery store that don't cost barely anything. Like a papaya is like $4. It's cheap. So to go and get these things and reset yourself. If you're low on energy, that's another sign that you're having gut issues. And that is feeding your blood, so making your blood thinner. So
Look,
you have
another
low
thing
energy.
that I think people don't realize is that some of these traditions, as black folks, I remember this one chick I was talking to. She was like, "Hey, yeah, my mom and my grandmother had told me, take a teaspoon castor oil twice a month, to clean yourself out." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's not." No, a lot of these old traditions are doing. That's what they were about, was about cleansing yourself. You just didn't realize it, and we have been doing it so long that we had lost sight of what started this. It's like, yeah, pooping, that sounds terrible. We're embarrassed about pooping. No, this was a tradition, whatever, however it started many years ago, that we were doing it to naturally cleanse ourselves out, so we wouldn't be sick. We wouldn't be
dogs sniff each other's butts so they can figure out how good the other one is eating.
If they're healthy or not, yeah.
If they're healthy or not. And humans can't do the same thing because that's just way too gross. But what you can do is just look at your stool. And if your stool is solid and it's a medium color, you're good. If it's green from all the greens that you're eating, that's actually a good sign also. But it means that some of that chlorophyll is passing through you, but it also means that some of that chlorophyll has been absorbed and it's made it all the way into your feces. That's actually a good thing. So always look at your stool and see how it is, your gut is doing at that time, how well your gut's doing. So another thing you can do is drink plenty of water. Drink plenty of water throughout the day. Listen, if you don't like the taste of water, then put something in it. Put some coconut water in it, or put some honey in it, or put maple syrup, whatever. Just drink water plenty of times a day. I'm not going to put a number on it, but just drink lots of water. Another thing you can do is get exercise. And it's not really about the duration. It's more about how intense the exercise is. You need to do enough to work yourself up into a sweat. It can be walking that gets you into a sweat. Listen, if you're in an office building, take the stairs. Take the stairs more and push that heart. Push that heart, push those legs, push yourself. You have to push yourself at least 3 times a week. Push yourself and make yourself feel the strain. It can be for 5 minutes, it can be for 10 minutes, but make yourself feel strain for about 5 to 10 minutes at least 3 times a week. Because you're pushing against gravity, you're pushing against death, you're pushing against disease, you're pushing against all these things that will come for you and kill you. You're pushing it back. You're pushing it away. You're making yourself strong and firm and resilient for as long as you can. Old folks used to say, you have to keep moving. You have to keep moving. My father would say, when you sit down, you start dying. It's just a metaphor that means you have to remain in perpetual motion until your last day, because that's how you guarantee long life and good health.
Look, we always talk about fasting. I'm going to tell you that when you fast, like the first 2 days are hard as hell.
It's so difficult. So difficult.
Yeah. First 2 days. Now, you hit that third day. That's why I told you I'm done at 5 days. Once you hit the third day, you're not even thinking about food. You have a schedule. That's when you start getting a clear mind. Now, sometimes before I fast, I might drink V8 or vegetable juice, or just drink straight water. Either one. But if I start I'll drink some apple juice, maybe some fiber, a couple days before, and then when I start to fast, stuff starts coming out of you. You know, like I said, you're hungry.
But it has to be liquid. Whatever you're on needs to be liquid. It needs to be water and vegetable juice. That's it. And you also need to take herbs to clean out your liver and your kidneys at the same time. So write this down, people. There's 3 herbs you can take. Take them together because they work synergistically. Dandelion root capsules, red clover, and burdock. You want to take those 3 because it's going to clean out your liver and your kidneys. Now, you're taking these while you're fasting. So you're on this liquid diet and you're fasting, you're taking these herbs. And it's going to start pushing out all this stuff like duct tape is telling you about. But it's also pushing toxins that have been stored in the liver for a long time for all that drinking and everything else you've been doing. And your kidneys.
Look, when you first start listening to Dr. Sebi, he talks about burdock root all the time. Another thing is if you're old black folks used to eat dandelion root. They used to eat dandelions, period.
My mother would make dandelion salad.
Yes.
Of the greens.
Yeah, they would go out and pick them from a field. But see, here's what people ain't getting: dandelion root damn near cures everything. When you start doing your whole hoodoo, voodoo, or whatever you want to call it, and so you see dandelion root in a bunch of stuff, it cures a lot of shit. I'm just trying to tell y'all. So I've said it on another podcast. Why do you think you got a company like Bayer buying up Monsanto, who makes herbicides? Because they know if they kill off all the dandelion root where you can't eat it, then you can't cure yourself. You cannot cure yourself naturally if what naturally occurs ain't no longer there. So what I'm doing is eliminating my competition and making a return customer. That's what we need to be looking at. But whenever you start looking at these old stuff, even when you're a Boy Scout, they got whole books on this shit like natural remedies. Dandelion root pops up a lot. Black seed oil, which is cumin seed oil, pops up a lot. The Egyptians said the black seed oil cures everything. That's another thing they said. So when you realize that cumin and these things have been around for years and that it's been used for medicinal reasons, not just seasoning your food, or when you see one of these old recipes and it's telling you to put this stuff in there, you're like, why is that? It's not for flavor. It's for your health. And we have been curing ourselves for years, and now we've gotten away from that. Just like I said, this girl I talked to was like, yeah, my mom and grandmother told me to take castor oil twice a month. I'm like, yeah, I was young, I was stupid, I didn't know no better. But that's whatever that tradition was. Her family had a tradition of cleansing themselves, and it was part of just what they did. They couldn't put it into words. Stop running from the solution. Many times we are avoiding what it takes, what was actually done to protect you from this shit, and our arrogance has gotten in the way. That's all it is.
Another test you can give yourself is when you get out the shower. Every time you take a shower and you get out and you're in front of the mirror, do you run past the mirror? Do you not even look at the mirror? Can you look at yourself in the mirror? Because that's a serious question, because if you can't look at yourself naked in front of the mirror and you don't like what you see, or you're not satisfied with what you see, that's a problem. That means you have got some work to do. But
fix it.
Right. But all of this comes from the will, straight up and down.
That's what discipline. Discipline is a big portion.
Listen, it's like Dead Prez said in that song, discipline makes things easier, organize your life. And that is all related to willpower. You have to have the will to fight. You have to have the will to make yourself get up and go exercise and eat the right things. Listen, dinner time, after a long day, you want to have a tasty dessert. I get it. I fucking get it. You want something sweet to eat. Look, there's all different types of ways you can have a sweet thing after dinner. But don't go ham every day. Don't
That's the problem.
Have the cheesecake every day. Don't have the ice cream every day.
Look, we shouldn't even be having meat every day. Meat should be once a week or a couple times a month. But we've been conditioned to think that, okay, you need protein. If you got to have protein every meal, again, me and you had talked about balanced diet. Fuck a balanced diet. I want a healthy diet. We are bombarded.
If you look at that food pyramid that everybody grew up with, it is total garbage.
Bullshit, Mr. Handman. Bullshit. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That food pyramid was created by the agricultural industry
And
to
the dairy
get
industry.
you
Don't forget them.
and dairy to get you to buy more of their stuff. That's all. So, as Duct Tape said, you don't want a balanced diet. You want a healthy diet. And here's another thing. It's not a diet. It's a live it. That's why these people fail all the time with these miracle diets, because you do it for a spell and then it's done. Then you go back to binging and eating a tub of ice cream, slather with this artificial
What was the
caramel,
goal?
this caramel topping that comes that you keep in the freezer.
Those diets are about one particular goal. It's not about healthy. It's about looking good and losing weight quickly. You want to lose weight so you can feel like you accomplished something for a little bit, then you go back to being your regular self. Whether you got into a dress for the women, or as a dude you lost weight just so you can fuck this broad, and then all of a sudden you're back to normal and it didn't work out. The goal should be longevity and health. And the other thing is, when you consume the right foods, your brain is much clearer. You hear us say that your gut is your second brain. When your brain is clear and you're thinking, it's hard to manipulate a population of people who are eating correctly. Let me just tell you that, because you are going to be thinking critical. You're going to be like, hey, man, that's some bullshit. Why do they got that red stripe on there? Why do they got this? Oh, they're fucking with my mom. Yes, when you are eating the right foods and you're not beholden to some bullshit snack cakes and hoagies and shit, ho-hos, then all of a sudden you're thinking clear, you're not falling for the bullshit. They need you dulled down for this shit to work. For them to give you the needle, for them to fuck with you, for them to have you in fear, you have to be eating the wrong shit. That's all I'm saying.
Moderation is the key to long-term health and longevity. That is the way. You have to have a little bit of one thing and not too much of anything. So, balance out the way you see that you're living, but also reclaim your true, vibrant health. There's no reason why you can't jump out the bed like a 7-year-old. You can do it. The only problem is you have to work back to that and eliminate a lot of the toxins and the junk and all the stuff that's became cement in your gut. And you see people walking around these swole ass bellies like they got stung by a bunch of bees. They are full of shit, literally. That person is full of shit, and they have to clean themselves out. So
they talk like it too.
But all this comes down to the will, as I said earlier, and you have to have the will to fight and take back your good health. But now that we've spoken on the people out there, the companies out there that have poisoned much of the Earth's population, be aware of these things going forward. Be vigilant in what you put into your body and into your mind and where you spend your money and what you contribute to when it comes to the foods you eat and the companies that provide these services for you. That's all I got. We out. Peace.
Holla back.